Before science charted the stars or named the tides, humanity stood at the edge of the sea and dreamed. Here, in the liminal space where water kisses sky, we conjured creatures that mirrored our deepest selves, beings of beauty and terror, guides and destroyers. These were not mere fantasies. They were the first maps of the unknown, drawn in the language of myth. Tonight, we journey to the heart of this ancient dialogue, where the line between what is real and what must be real dissolves like salt in water. For in the ocean's embrace, truth and imagination are currents in the same endless tide. To the Greeks, the sea was a symphony of peril and promise. Their sirens were not the voluptuous temptresses of later art, but monstrous hybrids, half woman, half raptor, whose songs were less melody than elegy. A warning: the sea's beauty is a siren call to the reckless. Far across the waves, the ninjyo of Japan embodied a darker truth. This mottled, Piscean horror, part fish, part demon, was no object of desire. To catch one was to court typhoons and famine. Yet its flesh, they whispered, granted immortality. A paradox: the ocean giveth death, and with it, eternal life. In West Africa, Mami Wata ruled with a mirrored gaze. Her serpents coiled not to strangle, but to crown. She was the ocean's caprice made flesh, a goddess who could drown the greedy or elevate the devout with a flick of her golden scales. To adore her was to love the sea itself, unpredictable, demanding, divine. These myths were not mere stories. They were survival manuals, moral codes, and love letters to the untamable. Imagine a world without satellites or sonar, where the horizon was the edge of all things. Here, sailors became poets. A flicker of sunlight on a manatee's back became a mermaid's sigh. The mournful groan of a humpback whale. A siren's dirge. These tales, etched into salt-stained logbooks and hummed in shanties, were lifelines. Consider the lighthouse keeper, spinning tales to children as waves clawed at the rocks below. Her mermaids were neither kind nor cruel, they were the sea's translators, singing its moods in a tongue only the brave could decipher. Even the hucksters played their part. The Fiji mermaid, that grotesque graft of monkey and fish, was no mere carnival trick. It was a Rorschach test of longing. For a coin, you could glimpse the impossible, proof that the ocean's secrets were within reach, if only you believed. But belief is a compass that points both ways. For every sailor who saw salvation in a mermaid's smile, another saw the abyss staring back. When myth meets the mast. To ancient mariners, the sea was not a thing to conquer, but a deity to court. Shipwrights carved mermaid figureheads not as ornaments, but as offerings, wooden supplicants begging safe passage. Their chisels shaped hope into scales, fear into flowing hair. In the Polynesian Pacific, navigators read the stars, but trusted the ocean's whispers. A pearl dropped into the deep was not a sacrifice, but a conversation. "See," it said. "We respect your power." And when the sea claimed its due, as it always did, the mermaid became psychopomp. Viking funerals sent heroes to Valhalla on ships of flame, their figureheads melting into smoke, a final bridge between mortal and myth. Today, we drop sonar probes, not pearls. Yet when a freediver's hand brushes a manatee's weathered cheek, the old magic stirs. For in that moment, science and myth are not foes, but fellow travelers on the same eternal quest, to unravel the ocean's enigma, one ripple at a time. A child asks the sea, "Are you there?" and the ocean answers, not with a mermaid, but a whale's eye, ancient and unblinking. In its depths, we see reflections of our own yearning. The octopus, shape-shifting in a kaleidoscope of color. The mantis shrimp, striking with the speed of starlight. These are the sea's true marvels, no less magical for being real. So let us not mourn the mermaid's passing from fact to fable. For she was never the end, but the beginning, a beacon guiding us to wonders yet unseen. The ocean remains, vast and voiceless, and in its silence, we hear the same question that haunted our ancestors. The ocean's true marvels are not hidden in myth, they swim in plain sight. But to ancient sailors, their forms blurred into legend, a manatee's maternal embrace became a mermaid's nurturing grace, a ribbon eel's sinuous dance mimicked flowing hair, a dugong's haunting cry echoed a siren's song. These creatures are not impostors. They are the living blueprints of our oldest tales, proving that reality and fantasy are currents in the same sea. Let us dive beneath the surface to meet the muses of the mermaid myth, where biology breathes life into legend. But how did scales become skin, flippers become arms, and biology become legend? To unravel this, we must dive deeper, into the sailor's mind, the artist's brush, and the alchemy of fear and wonder. The mermaid myth is not a lie, it is a translation. A desperate, hopeful, human translation of the sea's cryptic language. When sailors glimpsed a manatee's rounded tail, they saw the curve of a woman's form. When they heard the dugong's mournful cry, they heard a siren's lament. Every scale, every gesture, every ripple of light became a brushstroke in humanity's collective hallucination. But to understand this alchemy of biology and belief, we must dissect the myth itself, bone by bone, fin by fin, to reveal how evolution's quirks became legend's truths. Here, in the collision of flesh and fantasy, we uncover the anatomy of a myth, the tangible threads that wove the intangible. From the octopus's living tapestry to the siphonophore's starry net, nature's designs became humanity's divine blueprints. These creatures are not imitations of myth, they are its architects. The sea is a mirror, reflecting not just sky and salt, but the deepest recesses of the human mind. For centuries, sailors embarked on voyages armed with sextants and superstitions, their sanity stretched thin by endless horizons and rotting rations. In the crucible of isolation, biology and delirium fused. A manatee's barnacled bulk became a mermaid's armored grace. A dugong's oily tear became a siren's sorrow. These were not lies, they were survival. To endure the ocean's indifference, sailors rewrote its rules, transforming blubber into beauty, hunger into hallucination, and survival into song. But this alchemy was not theirs alone. From Polynesian navigators to Viking explorers, humanity has always sculpted gods from the waves, seeking meaning in the meaningless. The mermaid myth is no accident. It is a testament to our species' refusal to surrender to the void. For in the sailor's psyche, we find the essence of all myths, the desperate, dazzling act of dreaming the world alive. But what if the myth was more than metaphor? What if biology itself holds a secret? The mermaid is dead. Long live the mermaid. For in her passing from fact to fable, she leaves us not with less, but more. The manatee, once mistaken for myth, now glides as a marvel of evolution, a gentle giant whose slow dance through seagrass is no less wondrous than the sirens of old. The dugong, a creature of quiet grace, becomes a bridge between our world and the unfathomable. Science has not banished mystery, it has deepened it, trading simple answers for questions that ripple outward like waves. So let us keep our mermaids. Let them linger in the corner of our vision, in the whisper of tides. For they remind us that the ocean's greatest secret is not what it hides, but what it reveals about ourselves, that we are, and always will be, creatures of wonder, half anchored to reason, half lost in the blue. And in that duality, we find our truest compass, to protect the real, revere the imagined, and forever seek the horizon where they meet. In the cold light of science, the mermaid's tale dissolves into the mundane. DNA, that ancient code of life, rejects the fusion of human and fish. Fossil records whisper tales of evolution's pragmatism. Sirenians, not sirens, glide through Earth's history. Yet, in our quest for wonder, we cling to myths. Here, we confront the irrefutable, hydrodynamic inefficiencies, anatomical impossibilities, and the silent verdict of the fossil record. The ocean's depths, once a canvas for fantasy, now reveal truths as stark as they are beautiful. The sea is a trickster. It bends light, warps sound, and rewires weary minds. Starvation, mercury, and solitude conspire to paint mermaids in the fog. Sailors didn't lie, they saw what their survival demanded. Here, we unravel the fragile threads of perception, optical illusions, cultural whispers, and the brain's desperate dance between reality and fantasy. To see a mermaid is to see ourselves, flawed, hopeful, and eternally storytellers. Mermaids are humanity's ode to the unknown. They dwell not in the sea, but in the soul, bridging loss and wonder, fear and desire. From caves to screens, we've sculpted them in art, song, and story. To erase mermaids would be to silence the ocean within us. For in their impossibility, they remind us, we are creatures of stardust and story, forever chasing horizons. Mermaids are dead. Long live mermaids. In their impossibility, they gift us a compass, not to navigate seas, but to fathom our own depths. For as long as waves kiss shores and hearts yearn, they will swim on, eternal as the tides. In the pixelated depths of the 21st century, mermaids have shed their scales for silicon, trading coral thrones for viral fame. Once confined to the margins of maps and the delirium of sun-starved sailors, they now glide through the algorithmic currents from one social media platform to another, their iridescent tails flickering in the endless scroll of human desire. Hashtags like #mermaidlife swell into tidal waves of content. Glitter-dusted influencers posing in bioluminescent pools, children crafting duct-tape tales in suburban garages, and activists stitching plastic waste into protest art. But this digital metamorphosis is more than spectacle, it is a mirror reflecting our deepest anxieties and aspirations. The mermaid, now a fluid avatar of identity, transcends biology. She is the non-binary icon swimming against gender norms, the climate warrior draped in ghost nets, the escapist fantasy for a generation drowning in burnout. Yet even as we commodify her, she resists captivity. Deepfakes and CGI render her hyperreal, yet marine biologists flood comments with manatee facts, anchoring myth to mangrove roots. Here, In the clash of bites and biology, the mermaid becomes a paradox, a fiction that funds coral restoration, a lie that lenses truth. She is no longer a creature of the sea, but a cipher for the human condition, part meme, part manifesto, forever trending. When Disney's Ariel first traded her voice for legs, she unwittingly signed a contract with eternity. Today, her heirs are legion, mermaids who no longer need princes or pixie dust, but thrive in the streaming currents of Netflix and the neural networks of AI. They are heroines of YA dystopias, battling microplastic empires. They are queer-coded and canonized in indie games, their tales a riot of pronouns and pride flags. Algorithms, those modern-day oracles, spin them into existence. ChatGPT drafts mermaid soliloquies on ocean acidification, while Stable Diffusion conjures sirens with scales like oil slicks. Yet for all their evolution, these new myths still orbit the ancient paradox. We know mermaids are impossible, yet let them colonize our imagination. Hollywood blockbusters greenlight $200 million siren thrillers while documentaries about vanishing manatees languish in funding purgatory. TikTok duets pit teenage girls in sequin tales against marine biologists' explainers, the comment sections a battleground of wonder and rigor. Even as sonar maps the last uncharted trenches, we cling to the mermaid siren song, a lullaby for our Anthropocene angst. She is both symptom and salve, a metaphor for the internet's endless shape-shifting, a warning of nature's fragility, and a testament to storytelling's power to outswim even the darkest depths of data. Myths do not die, they evolve, their bones fossilizing into new forms. The mermaid, once a Eurocentric temptress luring men to ruin, now dons Afrofuturist armor in Lagos lagoons and rallies climate marches with megaphones woven from seagrass. She is a shapeshifter for the ages. In Seoul, K-pop idols channel her as a hologram. In Standing Rock, she merges with indigenous water protectors. In Meta's metaverse, she is an NFT trading carbon credits. Schools wield her as a pedagogical puppet, using her lore to teach fluid dynamics and feminist theory. Yet her greatest power lies in her impossibility. She is the ultimate hybrid, stitching together binaries, human/animal, real/imagined, past/future, into a creature that defies categorization. Climate scientists borrow her image to personify the ocean's plight. Therapists prescribe mermaid art to children with eco-anxiety. Even as CRISPR engineers jellyfish and submarines probe the abyss, she endures, not as a lie, but as a language. For what is a mermaid if not a collective prayer? A plea to reconcile our hunger for magic with the starkness of science, to see the ocean not as a resource, but as a living story. She is dead and alive, a fiction and a compass, swimming eternally between the is and the what if. In her tale's flicker, we glimpse our own duality, the terror and tenderness of being human in an age of unraveling. The mermaid is dead. Long live the mermaid. She has slipped the shackles of biology to become something far more potent, a myth upgraded for the Anthropocene, a mirror reflecting our hunger for meaning in a world of screens and extinctions. Her tale, now woven from hashtags and hydrophones, does not swim away from truth, but toward it, melting into viral videos one moment, resurfacing in IPCC reports the next. She is the ghost in the machine, the siren in the dataset, the story we cannot quit. For as long as oceans heave and hearts break, she will persist, not as flesh and scale, but as a flicker of stardust and stubborn hope. To dismiss her is to dismiss the human soul, to embrace her is to dive, eyes open, into the unknown. The ocean, vast and enigmatic, has forever been a mirror to the human soul, reflecting our deepest fears, wildest hopes, and insatiable thirst for meaning. Across the shimmering expanse of cultures and millennia, mermaids have swum through the currents of human consciousness, neither fully fish nor entirely human, they exist as liminal beings straddling the realms of reality and fantasy. From the ancient Babylonian carvings of Atargatis, the fish goddess of fertility, to the viral social media dances of glitter-clad influencers, mermaids bind us to the sea's dual nature, a domain of measurable tides and unfathomable mystery. Consider the Polynesian navigators, who charted the Pacific's expanse using stars and stories of Moana Nui Kai, the ocean's guardian spirit. Or the mariners, whose tales of Marjig, the storm-haired siren, masked the haunting cries of walruses in the fog. These myths were not mere whimsy, they were survival tools, maps of the psyche that transformed the ocean's perils into poetic allegories. Yet, as we retrace these threads, from the Umoja of Yoruba lore to Hans Christian Andersen's lovelorn Ariel, we confront a haunting duality. Are mermaids mere reflections of the ocean's secrets, or do they mirror the abyss within us? In the Fiji mermaid hoax, P.T. Barnum stitched monkey and fish into a grotesque chimera, preying on our hunger for wonder. Today, deepfake sirens glitch across screens, their digital scales dissolving into thermal scans of manatees. The ocean's paradox endures, it is both a laboratory of life and a canvas for our collective dreams. To study it is to dance between dissection and devotion, to ask not just what we see, but why we need to see it. Two forces, seemingly opposed yet inextricably entwined, shape our understanding of the sea, the scalpel of science and the brush of myth. One dissects, measures, and categorizes, the other dreams, allegorizes, and transcends. Marine biologists plunge into the abyss with clipboards and sonar, while poets dive with metaphors and metaphors. But are these truly divergent currents or tributaries of the same river? Consider the hydrodynamic simulations in labs, where mermaid tails are tested against dolphin flukes, mythic forms clashing with evolutionary pragmatism. Or the indigenous elders of the Amazon, whose tales of Ayera, the river enchantress, encode centuries of ecological wisdom. When CRISPR scientists splice manatee DNA and bioartists sculpt LED-lit sirens from recycled plastics, they are not opposing forces but collaborators in a grand dialogue. History whispers of this symbiosis. Linnaeus, father of taxonomy, classified mermaids as Homo sapiens marinus, a nod to myth's grip on reason. Today, climate activists wield mermaid murals on melting glaciers, merging data and drama to scream what spreadsheets cannot. Even in the sterile glow of a genetics lab, where manatee genomes are sequenced, there is room for wonder, What if myths are humanity's first algorithms, stories that code survival and curiosity into cultural DNA? To dismiss myth is to drain the ocean of its color, to spurn science is to drown in delusion. The truth lies in attention, the space where a sailor's fevered hallucination of mermaids meets the marine biologist's spreadsheet of manatee migration patterns. Here, in this liminal zone, we find not answers, but a compass. The ocean guards her secrets jealously. For every species catalogued in the annals of marine biology, 1,000 phantoms glide through the midnight zone, unseen and unnamed. Science, with its submersibles and satellites, has mapped the trenches and tagged the leviathans, yet the abyss remains a realm of shadows and whispers. It is here, in the unknown, that mermaids swim eternal, not as answers, but as questions. Imagine the child on their first snorkel, wide-eyed beneath the waves, where parrotfish and angelfish dart like living jewels. In their mind, these creatures morph into merfolk, allies in a submerged kingdom. This is no mere fantasy, it is the alchemy of wonder, the spark that ignites future explorers. When Polynesian navigators steered by star and story, they understood this: myths are not lies, but lenses. Today, as neural networks grow coral reefs in AI labs and astronauts sketch mermaids while orbiting Europa's icy oceans, we stand at a precipice. The ocean's greatest mystery is not whether mermaids exist, but why we need them to. They are our subconscious plea for kinship with the deep, a bridge between the empirical and the ethereal. As the story comes to an end, consider the tagged manatee diving beneath the research vessel, its path intersecting with a child's mermaid toy adrift on the surface. One is flesh and blood, bound by biology, the other, plastic and fantasy, buoyed by belief. Yet both are real, the manatee in its grace, the mermaid in its grip on our souls. The ocean is real. The mystery is real. The choice, to cherish both, is yours.